Hello Legacy students, this is section 3.4, multi-step inequalities. So materials you're going to want to have with you. Make sure you have your notebook, make sure you have a pencil, and then you may want a calculator for this section. So this video is going to focus on how to solve multi-step inequalities. This is going to look extremely similar to solving multi-step equations, so it shouldn't be too hard of a section. Now, if I can have you remember from last time we watched the video, when we solve inequalities, you need to be very, very careful when multiplying and dividing. If you divide or multiply by that negative, even during when you have multi-steps, you must flip that inequality symbol. Don't forget about it. It will happen many times and you'll just be going on. Please be aware of it and watch out for it. So the first problem. What are the solutions of the inequality negative 6a minus 7 is less than or equal to 17? So I'm going to solve this just like there would have been an equal sign. So I'm going to add and subtract first before I multiply or divide. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. And I'm going to get negative 6a is less than or equal to 24. Now, I need to get a alone, so I'm going to divide by negative 6. Now, in your head, you should be thinking, oh, I divided by a negative 6. That means I divided by a negative. So what I need to make sure I do is I flip my inequality sign. So instead of having a less than or equal to, I'm going to have a greater than or equal to. So I'm going to get a is greater than or equal to negative 4. Then we need to graph it. So I'm going to put negative 4 in the middle, negative 5 over here, and then negative 3 over here. Now if you remember, since it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to put a closed dot at 4. Then I'm going to shade to the right because they want a's greater than negative 4. So my a's greater than negative 4 would be to the right. Now what about this one? What are the solutions of 15 greater than 5 minus 2 times the quantity of 4m plus 7? So what I'm going to have to do, if you remember, when I have a number outside parentheses, we need to use the rainbow effect, aka the distributive property. So I'm going to rewrite that using the distributive property. So I get 15 is greater than or equal to 5 minus negative 2 times 4 should give me a negative 8m. Negative 2 times 7 should give me a negative 14. So now I'm going to combine my terms on the right-hand side. So I have a positive 5 and a negative 14. So I get 15 is greater than or equal to 5 minus 14. Since they're on the same side, I'm not going to change any signs. So I got 5 minus 14. I have a negative 9. And I still have this 8m hanging out. Now I need to add 9 to both sides. And I'm going to get 24 is greater than or equal to negative 8m. I'm going to divide by a negative 8. Now you should be thinking, Miss Marsh, we divided by another negative. So what we need to make sure we do is I need to make sure I flip my inequality sign. So my inequality, instead of being greater than, is now going to become a less than m. So now I'm going to start labeling my graph. So I got negative 3 here, negative 4 there, and negative 2 there. Now, I'm going to have a closed dot at negative 3. Now, if you remember, I like when the variable's on the left. Then it's 10 times easier for me to figure out which way to graph. So I'm going to flip it around. So I'm going to have m. That dang closed dot doesn't want to stay for me. There we go. So I have m. And my arrow is not pointing towards the m. If you notice, my arrow is pointing this way. So I am going to have m is greater than or equal to, because remember, if you look here, it is the big part is pointing toward the m, -3. So I now can graph, because my arrow is pointing to the right, I'm going to shade to the right. Now about this one, if you notice we have variables on both sides. So my first idea is to get the variables to one side. So I'm going to add 2b to both sides. And I'm going to get 5b plus 12 is greater than 27. Now I'm going to subtract 12 because I got to get the 12 away from this 5b. I got to get variables on one side and just numbers on the other. And I'm going to get 5b is greater than 15. Got to get b alone, so I'm going to divide by 5. And I get b is greater than 3. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to label my graph. Remember, I always put the number that I got in the middle. So I got 3 here, so I'm going to put 3 in the middle. And then I get 2 is less than 3, so I'm going to put it to the left. And then 4 is greater than 3, so I'm going to put that to the right. Now I need to, my second question, when I graph, need to make sure I check what dot I need. So this one looks like an open dot. And then I need to see, is my variable on the left? Yep. So now I can graph, I can shade the way that my arrow is pointing, which is to the right. So just like when we're solving equations, we can get many solutions and no solution too. Now, you do not need to write this top part out done, but you do want to take this down right here. So this bottom part, make sure you write this part down. But that top part, again, you do not need to write that. So if you ever get 5 is greater than or equal to 5, or let's say 2 is greater than or equal to 2, this means that you get many solutions. So just like when we would get 5 equals 5, we would say infinitely many. We would say infinitely many solutions if we ever get a number equals a number, or x equals x, or x is greater than or equal to x. Now, if you ever get like 5 is less than 3, something that's absolutely not true, this means that you have a no solution problem. So that means that there is no way that we can solve that inequality. So let's take a look at this kind of problem. So they want to know about the solutions of the inequality 9 plus 5n is less than or equal to 5n minus 1. So I'm going to start solving. So I'm going to subtract by 5n on both sides. And I notice I get 9, my 5n's cancel, my 5n's cancel, and I get -1. So I get 9 is less than or equal to -1. Now I'm going to think about that. Is 9 less than or equal to -1? No, it's not. So if it's not true, I always have no solution. And since it's no solution, I cannot graph my line at all. Cannot graph if I get a no solution. Last problem. So I want to make a rectangular banner that is 18 feet long. I have no more than 48 feet of trim. So I'm going to put trim around the edge for this banner. What are the possible widths of the banner? So trim relates to perimeter. So I need to remember what is the formula for a perimeter of a rectangle. And that is P equals 2L plus 2W. Now, they gave me my L. They gave me how long I am. So 18 feet. So I got P equals 2 times 18 plus 2W, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my W. So now 2 times 18 is 36. Now, they say my perimeter or my trim can be no more than 48 feet. So my perimeter has to be 48 feet, but it can't be any more than that. So I cannot have 49 feet. So I am going to know that everything on this side must be less than 48. So you see how my arrow is pointing out there? So I'm saying this needs to be less than 48. So now I'm going to start solving. I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. And I'm going to get 12 is greater than or equal to 2w. Of course, I'm going to divide by 2. And I get 6 is greater than or equal to w. So what does this mean? What are the possible widths of my banner? I can have anything less than 6 feet for my banner, my width of my banner. That's the end of the show. See you later, Sabers.